Thanks for tuning in to The Real Deal Show, brought to you by eBodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards. Hey folks, Jay Reale back at you with another edition of The Real Deal Show, and we are live on location at Reale, Ralugandu. Say that 5 times fast if you can. And I'm here with legendary South African bodyboarder Iain Campbell. What's happening, Iain?
How you, bro?
I'm doing great, man. So for those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with Iain, and you shouldn't be if you're a bodyboarder, this man has a list of accolades that go a mile long, including 2017 World Champion, 2020 Pipeline Champion, and we'll talk about a couple of those things. But so you're here for the first time in Maldives. First impressions, what do you think?
It's so beautiful, hey. I mean, it's hot, but it's really beautiful. I'm pretty taken back by just the watercolor. Like, as you're flying in, I wasn't near a window seat, but I guess like you should be if you ever fly here. Get next to a window seat, because like all the atolls just kind of like scattered around, and yeah, the beauty of it is mind-blowing. And I think that's the one thing that really kind of like struck me when I came here, and just that watercolor, like beautiful turquoise. And I was shooting with a GoPro this morning, and the clips are like 20 fish underwater while I'm duck diving. So it's like, it's just like, it's a beautiful place to be. And I mean, this event's massive, you know, sitting here in the structure, like just to kind of give the listeners an idea, there's like a massive competitors area, probably like, you know, bigger than's needed, but it's beautiful here. There's Red Bulls on tap, and yeah, I'm really excited for the event.
Well, that's a good way to transition into my next question, and that is, you won your world title 2017, you won at Pipeline 2020, then you sort of went off the grid. Now, I know you've been through some life changes in terms of where you're living. You grew up in Durban,
yeah,
right? And you come from an athletic family. I know your dad was an oarsman, like
correct,
rower,
yeah,
right? And your mom was a competitive swimmer.
Yeah.
And your brother's a great athlete.
Yeah.
So it's like inbred in your family bloodline to be an athlete. And you were a lifeguard. You competed in ocean life saving, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the passion grew from. You know, I started out life saving just because my parents were so involved with. My dad's a life member at the surf club we were at, and that kind of like drew us as kids in there. And there was a race where you raced, you know, on a bodyboard around some buoys and back to the beach. And I would start at that point, and then I kind of like was like, oh, maybe I can kind of ride sideways on the wave, and that addiction just led into what it is today. Yeah. And you know, like having a family that's that like competitive and that hungry and that driven to those big goals of doing that kind of stuff, it's definitely, you know, like kind of like festered in me, and I think it shows in the way that I'm still to this day like really competitive in whatever I do, whether it's getting to the car first or even getting out to the back first. You know, I think it's when that kind of stuff gets in your bloodstream, it's kind of hard to kick it.
Yeah, so you obviously competed in the lifeguarding, that transitioned into bodyboarding. And how long have you been competing in bodyboarding now?
Well, I started when I was probably 11, and I'm now 32. So yeah, I've been doing bodyboarding longer than I haven't.
Yeah, 21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been a tough road, and it's been a long road, but it's really, I mean, I'm still super, you know, I've again found, you know, I lost the love for it a little bit when the competition got really tough. You know, you kind of, it's hard to not focus super strongly on that, and I think you lose the love a little bit. And with the time that I've had off, you know, COVID was a really good one, but then again, you know, like this last period of kind of having a really big life change in my life, and then obviously like, you know, coming back to the tour, it's such a big mind shift for me, and I've actually like found the love again, which is super special. And just like, I think if you have something that's a passion that turns into a job, and if you can find the passion again, I think it's super important, and that's literally what I've done.
Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about that. You moved from Durban to Cape Town.
Correct.
And that was for a girl, am I right? Or were there other reasons?
The waves in Cape Town offer a lot more than the waves in Durban. You got kind of like your seasons are more productive because the summertime you get southeast winds, which are the prevailing winds there, and that's offshore for a lot of the places. So you're able to surf a lot more. The swells are more frequent. They're bigger. You can get in the water more. It is colder. There's sharks. There's things that come with that. And of course, I met my wife at the time, and she was living down there. And I was looking to get out of Durban. I kind of like started drinking a bit too much and kind of partying a bit too much, and I really want to focus on the tour and kind of taking that seriously. And it just, as everything, I think you got to like really feel it, and I felt like it was the right time and right place for me to do that kind of stuff. And so, Rosie and her family, the Lombards, have been amazing to me. They're a really, really good family that have grown up in the bodyboarding scene, so it's not like they didn't know what was coming. And I've been able to travel and go around the world and still have a really good relationship where we're both really happy, and she's really successful in what she does, and I've been really successful in what I've been doing, and I think that's important. We each had our own thing, and it's worked. So yeah.
So I know you moved to Cape Town and you got personal trainers involved with your training, which obviously paid dividends in your bodyboarding.
Hugely,
right?
Yeah.
And at some point you moved to the UK recently. Let's talk about how you got to move from Cape Town to the UK. What happened there?
It was just, I think for the most part, it's just the opportunities. Living in South Africa, one thing, it's really far to travel anywhere. I'm doing 9 hours of travel just to get to kind of Dubai, which was my central hub at the time. I would always fly Dubai or Qatar, or so it was either Doha or Dubai.
Yep.
And that was kind of my base, and I was doing 9-hour flights just to get to the base, and then I was traveling all around the world. So to put it in perspective for everyone, it's like 54 hours of travel to get to Hawaii, and it's and that it eats up a lot of your time. Sure. So the other thing was the opportunities. My wife was working 80-hour weeks, and I was kind of in the mind frame of she's not really like being successful and being where I felt like she would be if she was anywhere else in the world.
What does she do?
She's a teacher, but she was working 2 jobs. She was working kind of like for an online company and then working a full-time teaching position. And just watching her kind of grind through that, and I was like, there's got to be easier ways for us to, spend more time together and do things that we love together. And if we were to start a family and get going in that sense, it was like, for me, I was like, I don't really see myself doing that in South Africa. And having my mom over in the UK very recently, the decision was kind of easy, and we applied and kind of did the whole procedure, which is not a cheap thing to do. If anyone's moved countries, they know how expensive it is, and it was, just left everything behind and kind of just moved over there and started a life there, and we've been there now 6 months.
Had you been there before you moved there?
We traveled there in September to kind of like check it out and see if it was the place we wanted to be, and
when the weather was nice.
It was exactly, and that was the thing too, is when we decided to like go there, it was like we got there and it was like picture perfect days. If you can imagine like the perfect UK weather, where it's like sunny, a little bit warm, kind of cooler in the evening, some waves around, crystal clear water, and I was like, just turned to Rosie and I was like, I can do this for sure.
Kind of like Cape Town.
Exactly.
Right?
Very similar. Very similar.
Weather. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit colder in the winter. Well, I haven't been there yet, but I can imagine probably a lot colder in the winter, but very similar, like kind of strong winds, clean, crystal clear days at times, and we were both like, we can do this, and so we did.
Wow. So was it a tough transition, or are you finding a groove over there?
I think we found our groove, and a lot of people say it takes a couple years, but we've just been lucky to transition. Rosie found a really good job where she's teaching and still doing her online stuff for whatever reason, and I've transitioned and started working a lot with Rob Barber, who I'm sure a lot of people know.
Yeah, Rob,
and so it's been really cool, and I met a really good group of guys over there, which has been fun, and I think that's important for me at least to get back into the bodyboard community no matter where it is, just to kind of like find that crew.
Yeah.
And I found one which I'm super stoked about.
And you guys live in Newquay?
We're actually living in St. Austell, which is kind of across the bay from Newquay. It's about 20 minutes drive. So it's not super far, but it's just where we could find a base to set up initially. And my wife's working in that area, so it just made sense. But I mean, traveling around there's super easy and pretty quick to get anywhere.
So you're ready for next winter. You got your 5 mil booties, gloves.
I got everything. I rode a couple times in like March, April, and it was so cold that I just kind of like I ordered everything. I just ordered a hood and I ordered booties and gloves, and I was like started surfing with that just for the initial like kind of period. And then by maybe like middle of April, beginning of May, it kind of like started to warm up a bit and thaw out and take the gloves off and take the boots off. But it was a big adjustment to like instantly change over from being in summertime in South Africa to like winter time in the UK. It's
season
like
flip-flop.
It was brutal, but it is what it is,
Yeah. So
all for the love.
Well, you're back into it, but let's talk about the hiatus from the tour. You mentioned you sort of lost the love of competing for a while. Was that during the pandemic, or did it happen just before? Yeah.
No, it was definitely the pandemic. I think like the thing, and I spoke about this recently to a few people, is the thing is like when you're not putting 100% into anything, it's really hard to really achieve. And when there's other people on the tour that are able to put 100% in, it's hard to compete against those people. And especially at high performing athletes, you can imagine like if someone's putting 100% and you're only putting 80, you're falling behind by a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. During the pandemic, I like really pushed my focus onto social media and trying to get my YouTube up and running and push the tutorials and help people, and that really became kind of my focus and my drive. And then the contest came, and I like last year at least I tried my hardest to like really compete, and I felt like mentally I just kind of like the shift had already happened. So it was hard for me to kind of like wrap my head around going into contests and feeling confident and kind of like, and that's something I've struggled with a lot, is that self-doubt, and a lot of athletes do, but I just couldn't kind of like flick that switch to really get it on, and that affected me in a big way, and it has, and also with this transition, I just like I couldn't travel and try and start a new life in another place. And now that we're at this event, it just kind of seems like I've got other things that I really want to do in my life, and I don't know if competition is going to play such a big part, but for sure I love coming back, and I watch all the events obviously live, and watching them, I think you kind of get like sucked in the whole time, and you feel like, damn, I should be there. But at the same time, I know the path that I want to travel, so I've got to be like okay with that transition.
Yeah, clearly a lot of people feel the same. This event's doubled in numbers this year versus last, because everyone watched last year's event and saw how epic it was. So you're here just to kind of participate, to still be relevant to the sport, but world title obviously for you this year, because this is your first event of the year, is not something that you're going super hard for. You just really want to kind of get in the mix,
for sure,
so to speak, right?
Yeah, I think the important thing for me, and as you said, it's relevance, and I think to stay relevant in this sport, although I'm posting weekly, so it's not like I'm unrelevant or irrelevant, or what is the word?
It's irrelevant. Correct.
Yeah. So it's not like I am irrelevant, but at the same time, I feel like if you're not competing and you're not at that high level, you probably do slip down a little bit, and you're not really pushing yourself. So yeah, I just Rosie went off to South Africa for the month because she's got the month off from work, and I was looking at this event, and I've always wanted to come here. It's a new destination for me, which is really important in my goals going forward. And so I thought to myself, well, the opportunity's there, and I took it.
Why not? It's not that long of a trip from the UK, and it's a nice break to a tropical destination.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. Your first time here, I assume.
Yeah.
Maldives. So do you have a plan after the event? to visit any other parts of the Maldives, or are you straight back home?
I've been lucky enough to be asked to go on a boat trip.
Yes.
So I'm doing the boat trip after the event,
Boat trip again. I didn't get invited last year.
No. So
I'm not this year either, but that's okay. So you're going on that trip. That's awesome.
I'm really stoked, and I'm frothing, to say the least. You know, and that's really, I feel like now that the competition has kind of subsided a little bit, that's really where I put my focus, is to the, you know, content creation side of things, and doing videos and vlogs and whatever else I'm going to do. And that kind of, like, when they said that to me and asked me, I was just like, I'm in.
Yeah, because you're going to get content to put on your channel.
Exactly.
And this is a perfect time to talk about that channel. By the way, in the description below, you're going to see links to Iain's YouTube channel and his Instagram, but you have a very, very complete YouTube channel with a lot of tutorials. I mean, a lot. You have like over 400 videos on there total. I mean, you started, what, 5 years ago with vlogs?
Yeah.
That sort of covered your training and your preparation for events, and that's now dovetailed into tutorials, how-tos. What changed? What made you decide, I'm going to share all this knowledge I've accumulated over all my years, instead of, you know, just focusing on winning all the time? So what changed to do the tutorials?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about. Like, I'm really passionate about helping people. Like, you know, I get so much out of the ocean and so much out of the sport, and I've got so much out of the sport. It's been my passion and my love for so long, and I just look at people and I'm like, you know, maybe they can get just a little bit of what I've got. And when I go in with that mentality, I just give you all the knowledge, you know, like, and I think the best thing for me is seeing the responses from people that it's actually worked and it's helped, and then that, you know, fuels the fire for the next one, and so on and so on. And, you know, there's like over 40 tutorials on there of like all kinds of things related to bodyboarding, whether it be talking about how to pack a board bag, which was one of the first ones, all the way through to, you know, doing big moves like inverts and backflips. And I just found, like, if I can help in any little way, and it goes way further than just the videos, you know, I love people when they message me and ask me, you know, like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or I can't do that, and I'm like, well, have you tried this, or have you tried that? And I think it's so powerful in our sport that people can reach out to someone like me and just be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm any better than anyone else to not reply to those people who reach out.
Yeah.
And that's always been my driving force, is if I'm going to put it out there and try and help people, if people reach out, I'm going to try my best to help them. And it's been so cool to just, like, you know, I was over in Kauai with the Hubbards. We were doing a coaching clinic out there, and I had a talk about social media and YouTube, and trying to, like, encourage the kids to kind of start that process. And there were kids that came up to me and like, oh, we watched your roll video, and that's how we learned how to roll. And, you know, that's the other side of the world from where I filmed it, and it's reaching that many people, and that to me is just like, it's so good for the soul to just be able to do that and to give back, and I hope it continues to do that. You know, I keep doing the tutorials and keep trying to help people as much as possible, and the responses are always so they're just so positive and so good from everyone. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, YouTube is an amazing venue in that it didn't exist 15, 20 years ago, and now it's a huge resource for a lot of people that are in places where they don't have access to, you know, either good waves or instruction, or maybe there's no other good bodyboarders. They can go on there and watch your videos, or Rob Barber's videos, or my videos. Yeah, and we were all kind of putting out this kind of how-to content, and I get the same. I get tons of great feedback, you know, like, hey, I watch all your videos, it's so great, and I always drop them links to yours because you have way more than me, and they're very complete.
Thanks.
But the funny thing is, I watched one of your first videos, and you're like sitting against this wall, and there's a shadow, and it's kind of echoey, and now your new ones, you have kind of a cool background with these mics, these really cool mics here. So you've really upped your game.
I think you have to, though. You know, it's all about that progression. And, you know, at the start it was like, you know, I think once you start to do videos, you really start to realize what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
And you know, the YouTube thing is, you know, it's all about retentions and trying to get, you know, like that's always what people are driving. And for me, it's like I would rather just spew out knowledge, and if people want to watch it, they can watch it. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. And,
Sure.
And I think it's the same now that, you know, now that I'm working kind of close with Rob, I think his drive is also the same. And I've watched a lot of yours, and yours are also like the same kind of like, we're all kind of heading in the same direction, but I feel like more people need to do it because everyone's got their little bit of knowledge that they can share.
Sure.
And if you're willing to put it out there, it always comes back super positive.
Do you do your own editing?
I do everything myself, yeah.
What do you edit with? What software?
I use Final Cut Pro because I'm on a Mac.
Okay,
so
I am too.
It just makes sense for
I'm
me.
too stupid to learn how to use that software, so.
It's just like, you know what I find with that is like Final Cut Pro is just like the next level to iMovie.
Sure. Yeah,
And
more effects. and
Yeah,
everything.
it's just got a little bit more to give you. So.
Yeah, I love your videos. There's one, a couple you've done where you watched videos and there's a little sort of you in the corner commenting on the videos, right?
Yeah.
That must be fun to do.
For sure. I mean, I've done a couple coachings like that too, you know, like trying to talk to people about their riding and maybe things that they're doing wrong or things that they're doing right. And it always comes back that guys are like, you know, they progress through that. And, you know, that's the big thing maybe for people to take away is to know that like your riding can progress even if you're not riding with someone that's like at that top level.
Oh, for
but
sure.
if you're kind of going back and you're watching footage or you're getting someone to film on an iPhone or anything where you can kind of see where you're going wrong, it's so important to look back. And I do that with my riding even, you know, when I'm trying to explain things to people, I have to like watch clips like 3 or 4 times and see where my positioning is and how I'm adjusting weights, and that kind of stuff's crazy to watch back and to like really break it down like play by play.
Yeah.
And yeah, just helping other people too. I think it's video analysis is a big thing, and
Well,
it's something.
it helps them, it helps you, it helps the sport. We all want to see bodyboarding grow, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we may monetize our videos. Trust me, I'm making enough maybe to buy a couple of meals on my YouTube channel. So it's not like we're getting rich. It's just we want to pass along that knowledge because we want the sport to grow. I was thinking about, you know, when I started, there were no video cameras. Nobody had video.
Yeah.
So the way we learned was we would see a picture in a magazine occasionally of Ben Severson or Mike Stewart, and we'd study how their arms and body positions were, and then we'd go out and try it. So it took us forever to learn everything, like months or years, that people now can watch your videos and learn in like 1 or 2 sessions.
For sure.
So it's great. And what I'm looking forward to, Ian, is, you know, Vicky and I go on some of Rob's trips. He does trips all around the world. And I hope you can get on one of his trips.
Me
maybe.
too.
And, you know, he can
I would love to
have you come along and do the coaching.
Yeah.
Because those are so fun, man. They're low pressure. There's super keen people on the trips, you know, who just want to learn and hang out with the likes of Iain Campbell, world champion. So, yeah, that would be cool. Hopefully that'll happen in the near future.
There's definitely, I mean, that's kind of the process that we're starting to build. And yeah, it's still early phases. Like for now, we've got a few things happening locally in, you know, in Newquay area, and then we'll probably expand to Cornwall area, and then from there, who knows where it's going to take us. You know, whether we're going to Bali or we're going somewhere else. I don't know where
exotic
where it might be. Maybe we should come here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many cool opportunities, and you know, meeting up with Rob and everyone else there, it's just been. It just seems like I'm in the right place now for where I want to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of like, I'm just letting it flow. So
good.
It all happens.
2 more questions for you. One,
Sure.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You'll be 42 years old. Where do you see yourself living life? What are you going to be doing? What do you think? Have you thought about this?
I don't plan really that far in advance.
Yeah,
so it's kind of difficult at the moment, you know, like I would love to have a family by that stage and kind of be settled down in the area that we're in at the moment, down in Cornwall. Yeah, I think I run the same kind of lines on family, and just the big thing for me is trying to figure out time management, because that's always a difficult thing, especially when you're a bodyboarder and you're kind of always looking at the forecast to kind of predict where your life's going to go, and everyone's like, well, get a routine and do this and do that. It's like, I can't set a routine, because if I plan to go somewhere on a Wednesday and there's waves on a Wednesday, that trip's getting cancelled straight away.
It's a common theme in our world, people.
And that's the thing. It's like, I just hope, you know, I was talking to Marie Laverne this morning about this, and I think he's got it pretty waxed, where he can work, surf, and have his family time, and that's kind of where my focus would be. I would say if I could put a goal on my 10-year plan, it would be to have time to spend with my family, to surf, and to do some trips, because I definitely want to keep bodyboarding as long as I can, and I think in this sport you can do that. It doesn't have to be at the highest level, but I look at, you know, you guys, you and Mike and Dave and Jeff, and everyone's like still bodyboarding at, you know, and going through the years, and it's just like, it's so sick to see, and I just hope that's where I am.
Love it. Okay, the last question is, what's your favorite wave that you've ever ridden? Favorite spot? You knew this was coming. It has to be said.
I always say it's pipeline, and there's a few reasons for that. You know, I put a lot of time in over there, and it's not only the place is pretty crazy, but, you know, I feel connected to the islands. And it's weird to say that, because I get a little bit spiritual and some people don't really get it, but it's like I'm really like, I feel like drawn into going and surfing that wave. And I think it does draw you in pretty, like when people go there and they see it and they see how close it is to the beach and how heavy it is and the crowds and everyone's paddling together, you know, if there's a good wave, the entire pack is moving as one. And that to me like really hypes me up and gets me like drawn in there. But there's so many other waves that I've surfed, you know, like the wave that probably made my career, Caves, like down in Cape Town, like that wave is so special too. And you know, I was just with such a good group of bodyboarders that were like mine and just wanted to surf and love the sport, and it gave me so much. It kind of like, I was always riding lefts, and that was like a blatant right-handed wedge, and you know, I moved down there and, you know, asked my then girlfriend like if we can start dating, and you know, it was the place where we spent a lot of our time, and I spent a lot of time down there, so it holds a little place in my heart, and good memories. And I guess that's the thing, you know, it's like, if I was to say, if there's one place, definitely Pipeline, just because of what it is, but if it's
it's the full package.
It's the full package. There's probably a few of them.
Yeah, a few different places for different reasons.
For sure.
Totally makes sense. People ask me that question, and I have kind of the same feeling.
You like stumble over
like, I love this place because of this, but I also love, it's hard to hard to pick one. So just to finish off with Iain Campbell here, any shout outs, sponsors, family, friends that you want to make here before we wrap this up, because we have an opening ceremony.
Well, I don't know if you'll ever see this, but a huge shout out to Billy Thiel,
who brought you into my office.
He brought me in there
many years ago.
Yeah, but Billy was more than just like the kind of person to really push me into the sport. He kind of like really, I mean, he was my first bodyboarding coach, which is crazy to think of. Like back when I was like 7, 8 years old, like really starting to learn what bodyboarding is and getting into it. And he was the first person to teach me how to roll. And you know, there's just been so many good memories. I spent a lot of time with him. He's an amazing person. He taught me more life skills than I think a lot of people have been taught in their lives, you know, and stuff that I could, you know, I never really take for granted, but it stuck with me the entire time. Like as I've got into my 20s and now into my 30s, he's taught me things that, you know, even my own parents didn't teach me, and I'll forever be grateful for that. And he was a huge inspiration for getting me to a really professional place in my career. So he's
a full-on mentor.
He was a mentor, and he still, you know, if there's questions that I need answers for, or if there's things I'm not sure about, I'll reach out to him and he gives me good advice. And it's just, he's the one person in my life that I'm just like really stoked that I've met and then really got to know. But I know that he's living pretty close to you, so just huge shout out to them, and also my family for all the support. I mean, they've been amazing over the years, and and all my sponsors and everyone that's backed me and supported me, and everyone that continues to watch the channel and watch it grow. It's been epic, and I just love this sport so much for what it is. You know, we've got good communities and beautiful people around and inspiring people, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Your current sponsors?
My current sponsors, Sniper Bodyboards, Churchill Fins, and Madness Wetsuits, and then Sun Zapper is a pretty cool one too. They make some incredible sunblock that I've been using for 8 years now.
He's not sunburned, you can tell.
I haven't been sunburned in a very long time. They've just brought out a new zinc stick too, which has been incredible. And then obviously my own brand, Boogie Everyday, which is my merchandise brand, and that's been going pretty cool.
Is there a website?
There's a website, boogieeveryday.com.
Boogieeveryday.com, Iain Campbell's website.
But thank you too. Thanks for the podcast and for having me on. It's been epic.
It's been a pleasure, Iain Campbell. So cool to sit here and talk to you. Folks, thanks for tuning in to the Real Deal Show. If you like this show, give us the thumbs up. Put some comments down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio podcast, I hope this helped you pass the time during your drive or workout. And we'll see you next time. And as always, we'll see you